I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
Andrew McCart, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. We're here in Newcastle for the weigh-in. A big, huge next-gen card here in Newcastle. With me, I've got Adam Morallee. Adam, we're in a nightclub and it's only 1:45 in the afternoon, man. Let's party.
Sticky floors, loud music, yeah. 1:45.
Go back to our youth. Yeah, I want to talk about loads of things. Obviously, big Joyce and Zhang fight coming up. But Zolman Dacre's got a good fight ahead of him, and Rob Ismay for the English heavyweight title. We talked a little bit there about the back and forth they had at the press conference. Quite a nice little bit of needle between them.
Absolutely, I think we're going to see the best of Sol Dacres. I mean, when you put Sol against opponents like Bracamonte, I think it's hard for him to really shine, and people watch that fight and think, what's this guy all about? He's a highly skilled British heavyweight boxer, and he talks really well. And you saw that with the back and forth with Ismay. I think he's a different class to Robert Ismay. I think you'll see that on Saturday night. He'll win the English title, and it'll propel him on to bigger and better things.
Well, I mean, Rob Ismay is the type of fighter that maybe Sol needs at this time of his career. There was a lot made of his only one knockout as a heavyweight in 5 fights, but when you're fighting these big, huge 22 stone men like Bracamonte, who are good at guarding up, to elbows tight, high guard, they're hard to stop, aren't they? But somebody like Rob Ismay, who's going to come and fight, he's going to start swinging punches, he's going to leave gaps. You think that will help Sol out?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've got respect for Robert Ismay. He's an undefeated British heavyweight. He's worked very hard in his career, but I think Sol Dacres is a different level to him, and he will come and meet him in the centre of the ring, and it will leave gaps. I think Sol will take advantage.
You mentioned they propel him in the British, obviously this English title for Sol will propel him in the British heavyweight rankings. Now when you look at this British title, you've got Fabio Wardley, you've got guys like Johnny Fisher who's thereabouts. Obviously Johnny's one of the nicest guys in the heavyweight. I don't know how he's going to start beef with anyone, but do you know what I mean? You've got David Adelaide, you've got all these young heavyweights in that British scene right now that is quite a tasty division to be in domestically.
Yeah, I think you've got like the top 5 or 6, Fury, Joshua, Joyce, those guys, White, Chisora, that's your world level. And then below that, I think you've got Sol, Fraser Clark, Adelaide, Fabio Wardley, and then maybe Johnny Fisher just kind of entering into that. And yeah, I think, why not after this the British title? I mean, Fabio and Sol are both with Matchroom. I know that Fraser's with Sky, but Fraser Clark, Sol Dacres, is a fantastic fight. They both wanted to get on the GB team. Fraser got the nod, Sol didn't. I mean, it's a brilliant fight. Oh, for sure. I think that'll be a great fight. And they're both from Birmingham, Midlands Derby. Let's make it.
There you go, you've heard it here first. If it happens, it's all down to Adam Morallee. Adam, yeah, we've seen Big Joyce out in Vegas, man. He's got a great fight against Zhili Zhang. For me, when you look at Zhili Zhang and Joyce, they're both juggernauts in their own right, and it's they both can hit, they both can whack. They don't really take a backward step. What are we expecting?
I mean, it's a big fight in terms for Joe. I mean, we could have taken an easier fight, but he doesn't want to back down from anything. Zhang is going to be incredibly dangerous early in that fight. We are taking this camp very, very seriously. We're preparing for this camp in the same way as we prepare for a Tyson Fury. No stone left unturned. Joe's been out there for a long time, been working really hard on his strength and his conditioning as well. And we've flown in sparring partners, specialist sparring partners for this, so we get Zhang right. I think you can see an incredible performance from Joyce.
Joe's becoming a knockout artist in this heavyweight division. Can he stop something like Zhili Zhang, a tall, heavy southpaw?
Under no circumstances does this fight go to points. I mean, Zhang's a heavy hitter. I'd say probably outside of people like Wild, he's one of the heaviest hitters in the division, one-punch hitters in the division. You know, very dangerous early on, but I think Joyce will wear him down mid to late rounds and knock him out.
When's this fight? He's in line for that world title. We know, I will get your thoughts on Fury Usyk, but the winner of that fight, do you think will fight Joyce next? Is that sort of like what you're aiming for?
Yeah, look, it's complicated. You look at the mandatory position, the traditional way the mandatories go at WBA, IBF, WBO. So Joe's third in that. But if they're not calling mandatories now, if they're having Fury Usyk, if there's a rematch clause, at that point, I think if there's a rematch clause, belts will be vacated, and if the WBO's vacated, because the WBO won't like that, they've been holding off their mandatory to allow this rematch. If that happens, Joe gets elevated from interim to world champ. Now, it's not, Joe's sole focus is not just to win world titles. He wants big fights. not just economically, but for legacy. He wants to fight one of Fury, Wilder or Joshua. That's what he's told me. That's what he wants to do. So that's my job. I've got to go get that for him. Fury said he wanted to fight Joyce. I think Fury should be good to his word on that. Joyce is, I think, the hardest fight in the division for him once he's had Usyk. So if he wants to clear up the best, that's what he's got to do.
You mentioned that was Fury's hardest fight in Joyce, and Fury admitted that himself.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him the other day. He said it was harder than Usyk. I think Usyk's an incredible boxer. You can never rule him out. Fury comes through that fight. I think Joyce is the hardest one.
Fury Usyk then, I'm guessing you saw the back and forth between the two of them on Instagram, the 70-30 split. Fair for Tyson, unfair for Usyk. How do you see it as a manager? Because you're in the game of making these deals. How do you see it?
Look, I think it depends where you are in your career when you accept certain splits on deals. Do I think 70-30's, the fair split for that fight, taking everything into account? Usyk's got 3 belts. Probably not. Probably should be shifted up. If I was Usyk's manager, I'd probably want to get nearer to 40. But I think they've been very smart. They've been very clever, and they've just said, do you know what? We believe in ourselves. We want it. Take the 30. Forget about the extra money. Win the fight, and then you'll, improve your economic prospects straight after that. So feels a bit low, but good decision. I like how Usyk's team did that.
Who wins in that fight, in your honest opinion, Adam?
I think Fury, that's what my gut says, but it's so hard to rule Usyk out of anything. Undisputed in the cruiserweight division, coming up to heavyweight, I think getting better with every fight. Got a game plan for every situation. Like Lomachenko, changes his game plan midway through the fight. It's going to be an incredible fight. I think Fury is very special. I think his size
matters, yeah.
will eventually win him the fight.
I mean, just one final one before I think the weigh-in's about to start here. One final one. Joyce beats Zhang. You look at this history between him and Usyk. They fought each other in the WSB. Him and Joshua, both GB fighters, they've sparred hundreds, maybe even thousands of rounds against each other. I think Joshua beat him in the ABAs all them years ago as well. Tyson Fury against Joyce is a good fight because can Tyson stay on his back foot against somebody that size? And then you've got Wilder. I mean, it's the battle of the right hand. Can Joyce take the right hand of Wilder? I mean, there's so many variables in all them fights for Joyce. It's an exciting time for him if he beats Zhang.
If he beats Zhang, yeah, he's got 4 mega fights out there, and Wilder's promoter free. AJ's with Matchroom, obviously, but they've expressed an interest to go cross-platform, and they could make that fight with the Warrens. And Fury's with Queensbury. So huge fights for Joe, and that's what he wants. He wants the big fights, and I think the public deserve them.
I think that's the weigh-in. I think we're stuck to the floor as well. Our feet are stuck. I think we're not going to move from this position. But listen, Adam, good to speak to you again, and enjoy the weigh-in. Cheers, my man. Thank you.
Refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,